Okay, let's do it.
Okay, all right. So the first one is deep honesty. And I actually talk to my clients like this. I'm like, we need to learn to practice truth-telling, honesty, and candor. It's the only way we're going to all get better.
Right. When I had a lot of employees, I found this just to be so much easier form of management than these secretive meetings or these classes of conversations. And, for me, it just seemed to be the easiest way to manage all of the employees that I had, because I had a bunch of different locations,
right.
and instead of separate private conversations, I'm going to do this for you and this for you. I just found that to be just a clean way to do it, and I can't imagine people nowadays trying to do something different, especially because there's so much technology that can prove you wrong quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one thing that is really amazing about what you're saying is this thing about meetings is that I encourage people to have their staff meetings. And if you do not practice truth-telling, honesty, and candor, or deep honesty, as this article talks about, people have this thing called the meeting after the meeting.
Right.
They're out in the parking lot totally talking about the situation when they should have brought their truth to the meeting in the first place.
Yep.
So it's kind of really a point of growing up and, again, being a man or a woman of virtue.
And making them feel comfortable that they can be honest on their end,
Right.
too. Yeah, in my world, I tell people this all the time. I know it's going to happen. I'm going to have a conversation with you. I promise you're going home and talk to your spouse. That conversation's going to happen about this important decision about buying or selling a business, right? So if you're not clear and the things you're saying, they can validate, the odds are they're not calling you back.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Okay, so
I'm sorry, did you say
exactly? That's exactly right. Yeah. I told you.
You're getting there.
I'm there.
You're getting there. You're getting there.
Okay. All right. So the second point is moral courage. So this is being willing to face your fears, your risks, and dangers because you want to support your beliefs. So I have this little diagram in my business that I teach folks, and it's called U101. And there's three things deep inside you. You've got internalized habits, you've got a set of beliefs, and then you've got human traits. And we talked about that last week when we talked about the path element profile and personality. That's kind of a hardwired thing in your personality. One thing that is so important for virtuous leaders is to have the moral courage to say, I believe this is a truth about business and about how to treat people, how to treat the customer. So having these moral beliefs really solid.
Yeah, gosh, I'm surprised people don't have that. That just seems to be something that's kind of at the core
Integrity,
to me.
right?
I'd have to think that one through if I see that a lot in small business people. That's interesting. I'm surprised that would be something that would be hard for them to do.
Yeah, I heard a quote this morning as I was driving in. The quote was, if you know your why, the how comes easy.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you got to, why are you in small business, right? Okay, so that's important. The third one is having a vision, that most business leaders have to have a vision. Where are we going to be in a year? Where are we going to be in 5 years? Where are we going to be in 10 years? Where am I growing this company? And having values that are kind of the harness and the sword that help us kind of figure out where we want to go. So having a great vision that's full of great values.
It's interesting because I would fail in that second part. I'd be like a master at the first, a vision, right?
Right,
I can set a vision, on a Tuesday, right? That's easy for me to do. But I used to have the attitude of whatever it takes.
Okay.
And you know what's interesting? When I dropped that attitude, all of a sudden more people wanted to come along. But when I had the vision and the attitude of whatever it takes, you're thinking, I'm not sure if I'm following him because I'm not sure where his real core values will stop, right? And what he's willing to do to succeed. And so that was something I had to learn, actually.
Yeah, and core values are huge. Actually, that's one of the things that I do inside of my company is I have everybody, when we're doing my methodology of SHINE, the first thing is self-assessment. And, when I work with a leader, I'm like, you need to determine what your core values are, and then we need to live from that place. So that's absolutely
and
true.
And don't fool yourself.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and be clear. You have to communicate
Yeah.
this, right? All right, so number 4 is compassion and care.
I might
So
be a little weak in that area.
I know that we determined that last week.
Oh, come on, Casey. That was not necessary. I was like giving myself up in that area, and you just had to pound on me.
Right. Well, the
That's
first part.
cold-hearted right there, man. Cold-hearted.
Yeah, well, the first part of this whole thing is becoming vulnerable, right? So the thing about being a virtuous leader is knowing that I have strengths and I have like natural challenges,
Right.
And so the philosophy that I have is that I want to make my strengths stronger. So we have to make in your case the wind and fire absolutely beautiful, right? And then the fact that your water is low.
That I don't care about your dog, right?
Right, yeah. So, we just have to tell you that, don't say that. Right? Like,
Stop with the bell, man. Well, my wife says that daily. You don't have to actually say it.
right. You can think it, but then that's where the virtue comes in, that you have the right ability, the wisdom, which is one of the 4 quadrants, to say, I just thought this, but I'm not going to let it out of my mouth. Right? Because you should see Jack, my dog. He's awesome. I wish he was here.
That reminds me of one of my favorite lines of a movie was The Bandit, #1, where Jack Gleason looks at those kids that he's got, up against the car. He caught them stealing, and he told them what, all the things that they couldn't do. He started walking away, and he looked back and he said, now you can think about it, but don't do it. That's what it reminds me of. I can
exactly
think
right.
it. I just should not be doing it.
No, exactly. All right.
You got me on that one. Okay.
Okay. All right. So the 5th one is fairness. And this is absolutely a very huge thing because, unfortunately, a lot of leaders play favorites. They have one person on their staff that, for whatever reason, again, going back to personality, they just kind of like the way they are better than the other guy, but they're not looking at, the actual talent or the skills or the gifts.
Right.
And so they play favorites. So fairness is a huge thing for leaders.
I hear that all the time. Whenever I'm talking to small business people, they will always suggest to me that some of their employees think that they're being kinder or more generous to one or the other one. It is a never-ending challenge. I hear it often.
Yeah, and I really celebrate what you were saying last week. You said I had a tendency to have more one-on-ones than like big giant staff meetings kind of thing. And I think that is really a great way to show fairness, is for a leader to conscientiously make sure I'm having a meeting with Casey today, I'm having a meeting with Sherry tomorrow, sitting down, because people want airtime with their leader.
Well, but not only that, what I found is, here's the reality. The reality is what you think is fair may not actually be fair, right? So when I sit down with you, I can find out. I can't tell you how many sets of tires I purchased for people, right? Or whatever they needed, right? That moment, right? And if it had some value to the business, like you getting to work, I would try and help you get that, right? And the only way I knew that is by having a conversation with you. And so it stopped all this. She got something I didn't get, because I can just look at you and remind you, we just got done getting you 4 sets of tires and balance your car, and tune up. Are we really going to have this conversation because you're upset that I'm giving her a day off? You know what I mean? And so that seemed to work for me personally, right? And I think every leader is going to have to figure out a way to deal with this, because it really is a perception that it's never ending.